Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, and we're going to be doing an update on the bull market support band. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Also, check out the premium list. The price is going up later this week. Let's go ahead and jump in. So, the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA are continuing to increase. If you're curious, the 20-week SMA now is coming in at a very modest 42.8K. The 21-week EMA is coming in at 45.8K. So they're about a $3,000 difference between the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA. For those who are unsure of why we talk about these moving average, it is because historically, when we are above it, Bitcoin feels relatively bullish. We know that altcoins are doing somewhat okay, especially if Bitcoin isn't super volatile. But if Bitcoin's above the 20-week SMA and incredibly volatile and moving up relatively quickly, or even going down relatively quickly, altcoins will still get wrecked against their Bitcoin valuations. The main periods where altcoins do really well is when Bitcoin is, say, above the 20-week SMA, but doing stuff like this, or going sideways. These sort of phases. If it's moving up too quickly, alts get wrecked against Bitcoin. So now, Bitcoin is actually, the valuation of Bitcoin is coming in just shy of $55,000. The only reason I'm telling you guys about the bull market support band, again, is because we do this update every single week, regardless of whether above or below it, but also to say, hey, in the event of a dump, right, which we know is always possible with Bitcoin, in the event of a dump, as long as we hold the line, we're still great. Okay, we're still doing well. There's a lot of wiggle room now. I told you guys back over here, it never really feels like you're going to hold the bull market support band, right? It never feels like you're going to hold it. And in fact, there were a couple of close calls, right? But at the end of the day, we had several tests of the 20-week SMA and 21-week EMA, several tests of them. Ultimately speaking, Bitcoin was able to hold the line even though the 20-week SMA was decreasing. Now, one of the things we've talked about at length over the last several months is that we want to get to the point where when we go back 20 weeks, we're no longer taking into account bars from this region here. The problem is when we are replacing a bar up here with a bar over here, the 20-week SMA was going down, right? Because we're replacing 1/20th of the valuation going into the 20-week SMA with a price that was lower than it previously was. So now we're replacing these candles down here with these candles up here, and so you can see the 20-week SMA is now in fact going up. So in the event of a dump, this is where we would want to hold the line. Now, this could not, we might not test the bull market support band for weeks and weeks and weeks at this point, right? We might not even test it again in October. We might not test it for months. Last year, after testing it, we didn't test it again until May of the following year. Now, if I had to dubiously speculate, I would probably think we're going to test it before May. I doubt we're able to go that long without testing it. That was a really long time. And unfortunately, when we go that long without testing it, the likelihood that we hold it is relatively low. Note, historically speaking, that when we go these long phases without testing it, we tend not to hold it. Ideally speaking, we go above it a little bit and then we come back down and hold it as support. Right? That's a more ideal scenario. But again, if this cycle does continue to emulate 2013, then it might not test it again until sometime next year. So the reason we're showing this is so that you guys know, no matter what Bitcoin does, in the event of a dump, that is where we would like to hold the line. And now the nice thing is that rather than chasing the 20-week SMA down and trying to hold it as support as it's moving down, now if we were to eventually go back down to it, ideally the 20-week SMA is moving out. Okay, and that's a much better scenario like it was in 2020, like we saw in 2016 and 2017, holding the bull market support band as it's moving up. Okay, that is the ideal scenario for Bitcoin. Right now, though, we are well above the 20-week SMA and 21-week EMA. From the 20-week SMA, Bitcoin has rebounded down here. It's rebounded about 34% or so. And remember, I said many times, it never feels like it's going to hold in the moment. Okay, in the moment, it doesn't feel like it. We saw the valuation of Bitcoin go below 40K on these wicks. Okay, on this wick right here, we saw it go below 40K, but ultimately we were able to hold the line. So now, what do we have left standing in our way between now and all-time highs? Well, Of course, there still are some, some barriers that Bitcoin would like to break through. I know a lot of people are looking at 57K as potential resistance, or talking about how we've been rejected off 56K a number of times. I do believe that Bitcoin will ultimately prevail and put in a new all-time high this cycle. I don't know if it's going to happen next week or next month, but I do think it will eventually come. If we do end up going back down to testing the bull market support band before putting in a new all-time high, then so be it, right? I mean, we can imagine a scenario like that. If Bitcoin is unable to do it on its first attempt and it comes back down and then breaks it, I think that's fine too. The point is of all of this is to say, ultimately speaking, Bitcoin so far at least has held the line. Is there a chance Bitcoin could go below the 20-week, sometime later this year? Yeah, it's possible, right? Anything's possible. We're not going to say Bitcoin can't do anything. But the point is that it has shown a lot of strength so far by holding the line at the 20-week SMA. I do think, as I mentioned before, I do think the bears that are calling for 10K, 15K, I think those are just pipe dreams. Again, I've said that before. I don't think Bitcoin's going to go to those levels, so that you understand why they're calling for a $10,000 or a $15,000 Bitcoin. I suppose they're looking at the 200-week moving average and saying, well, it's going to go back to there immediately. Now, I would agree that eventually Bitcoin will go back to the 200-week moving average. I do agree with that. I mean, I would say eventually it's going to go there. I just don't think it's going to go there now. Okay, I think by the time it goes there, the 200-week SMA is probably going to be a lot higher than it is today. But even then, even when it does go back to the 200-week SMA, people are going to still be very bearish about it, because even if we go back to the 200-week SMA in like 18 months or something, and the valuation at the 200-week is say 50K, the likelihood is that people are going to still feel very bearish about a valuation at that time at the 200-week SMA, because of what that would have meant it had to have gone to in the first place just to get the 200-week SMA that high. So you never really go to the 200-week SMA without feeling, without the market feeling extremely bearish. It's just a matter of when it happens. I would agree that we'll go there at some point, but I think calling for 10 to 15K at this stage is more than likely a pipe dream, and I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. So for now, we'll continue to follow this. We'll see if Bitcoin can in fact continue to hold the line. Again, this week we are well above the line. So the great thing is we have a lot of wiggle room. In order for us to get back down to the 21-week EMA, I mean, Bitcoin would have to go all the way down about 15, 16%. The 20-week estimate is a 21% drop. So ideally speaking, we have a ton of wiggle room now. We didn't have a lot of wiggle room a couple weeks ago, right? We didn't really have much wiggle room. Now we do. So I'd say, just sit back and enjoy the ride. There's going to be bumps along the way. I doubt that we're just going to smash through this without some resistance. Okay, I mean, we spent months at those levels, so there is a high probability that it's going to take a lot of effort to break through those levels. I mean, we tried breaking through them for months and we were unable to. So expect resistance, and eventually I do think we will ultimately break through. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Remember, we do have the premium list. The price is going to be going up later this week, so check it out into thecryptoverse.com. You'll get access to weekly reports and videos, the Telegram alerts channel, the Telegram chat room, the risk dashboard, and more. Make sure you guys check it out. Subscribe, click the bell icon to turn on notifications. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Bye.